Okay, fine.
Okay. I knew I needed to tell you that, Bonnie. So we are actually live here on YouTube Live. This is the Semana e-course, iTecGDA, Digital Identity, Campus Guadalajara of the Tecnológico de Monterrey. We have less than 100 students here, 100 registered, but a lot of them are here this morning. And we have, left to right on my screen, I have Autumm Caines, we have Bonnie Stewart, and we have Sundi Richard. And I remembered everyone's names today. Excellent. And I'm Ken Bauer. I'm behind the microphone right now, but I'll be running around the audience. Why don't I hand things over to Autumm, Bonnie, and Sundi. I'm going to mute my microphone so you don't have wicked feedback in your head. And I'll let you run it.
Great.
Cool. Thanks, Ken. I'll go ahead and go first. Hi, my name is Autumm Caines, and it's really great to be with you guys today. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio, in the United States. I work at Capital University, where I'm the Associate Director of Academic Technology. And I'll turn things over to Sundi and let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. Can you hear me? Okay. I still see Autumm up there nice and big, so I just was unsure. So I am from, currently, I'm in St. Norbert College in Wisconsin, and I'm an instructional designer here, and most of my work has to do with working with faculty, getting them to be more comfortable developing their online presence so that they bring it into the classroom and work with students. And so yeah, I'm excited to be here both with Bonnie and Autumm. Bonnie is the first person to really introduce me to the concept of digital presence and digital identity, so that's awesome. And then Autumm is my first real friendship that I developed online, so this is a kind of fun spot for me to be in. So,
yeah, this is really great. Really great. Sorry, and I'm Bonnie Stewart. I'm coming to you from Canada, so good morning. I'm in Prince Edward Island, which is a tiny little island off the Atlantic coast of Canada. I work at the University of Prince Edward Island. I am the coordinator of adult teaching and professional learning here, so I mostly work with college and university instructors on principles of adult education, how to work with adults, but then I also do some digital development work. And in terms of leaping into the idea of presence, in some ways the whole reason that Sundi and Autumm and I are here talking with Ken and with you is because, for the most part, other than Sundi and I, who've actually known each other face-to-face for, gosh, 15 years, and we first met in Korea, so we've hung out all over the world on many different continents, but this is the first time that we've hung out in Mexico, so this is kind of cool. But we have mostly formed a lot of our relationships and professional relationships through our digital presence. And was it Lee and Laura that you spoke with yesterday about presence? Is that right? Everybody nod. Actually, your little heads are so tiny, I can't see. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about presence and its ties to the idea of visitors and residents. And these are all really just concepts that I use to help me think about the digital in ways that are productive. So rather than, I always read articles saying, you know, the digital is keeping us from talking to each other. And that's not been my experience of how digital spaces can work, but I think that sometimes people don't have the concepts that they need. So I am going to first share my screen with you, and then I'm gonna open up a quick series of slides just to share some of the ideas that I have found really helpful. Is that working?
yeah, we can see that, Bonnie.
Okay. Welcome to my living room. Sundi and Autumm have both actually been in this room. If any of you ever come to Prince Edward Island, you are very welcome to come and see it. If you look in the bottom corner, you will see my cat, Clementine, who is lazy. And this photo is actually usually how I start all of my online courses. So when I'm going to be working with students over a period of time in a digital space, I'll share this first. And primarily what it serves to do is to say, hi, I know you're only meeting me as sort of a talking head or a combination of letters and writing on a screen, but I'm actually a person who lives in a place. And that sense of place and that sense of people being out there and the internet being made of people is really, really key to the idea of presence, and I think to building any kind of meaningful connections online. I stole this idea from my friend Kate, who lives in Australia, because one day, a couple of years ago now, I think this was 2014, I was on Twitter and she was having a conversation with someone that I didn't even know about ice breaking through images. So talking about sharing photos like that to show the view from where you sit in online courses. And I was just about to start teaching an online course and I thought, bingo, that's brilliant. I'm going to borrow that. And the reason that I like it, and I actually started my next online course with that picture. And what happened was, rather than me saying, everybody, please write an introduction in the discussion forum about why you want to take this course, and then everybody dutifully writes their answer and maybe dutifully responds to one other person in a very kind of, it is nice to meet you sort of way. Instead, I shared that photo of mine and invited other people to share theirs. And one student hopped into mine and said, hey, I think I have the same couch as you do. And it turned out he did. Another student said, oh, I have a cat. My cat's name is Felix. Well, someone else said, hey, my dog's name is Felix. We ended up having long, threaded, very human conversations. Because the truth is, when people meet in face-to-face settings, we don't actually show up the first day of a class and say, I am excited about taking this class because my life goals are XYZ. We say, hey, nice shoes. Hey, are you so-and-so's sister? We talk to each other about the human things in our lives. And so when we share images, sometimes that can be a good way of building presence, especially in a course type setting. And the thing is, your presence is not your content. It's not actually just the things that you share. It's that sense of you as a human being. Now this picture, you'll notice it says Charlottetown, PEI, 1979-1980. This is my third grade class. You'll notice the really bad polyester outfits with the big collars that the kids are wearing. I remember almost nothing of what I learned in third grade. I don't think I learned the math properly because I'm still working on that part, but I don't remember what we read. I don't remember what we studied in science. What I remember almost 30 years later, when I look at, almost 35 years later, when I look at these faces, is the kids, how they made me feel, what their presence was. And your presence is always that type of thing. How do you make the people in your learning space, in your life, on the internet feel? What will they remember of you? So it's not specifically the things you share, it's other people's sense of you and the way that you make them feel. Does that make sense? In a learning context, presence has a couple of things. And so you guys are with Ken this week, and he's sharing some specific ideas, and that's the big red circle, the cognitive presence. That's the stuff that you're supposed to be learning, right? That's his idea of what the curriculum is. The green circle is him. It's what he's bringing, and to some extent, those of us he's brought in, what we're bringing to this, your sense of us. But the other piece that's actually really important, and this comes out of research, 15, 20 years of educational research from Athabasca University. The other piece that's really important in learning is social presence. That's what you and your peers bring to any learning setting. And so the work of Anderson and Garrison out of Athabasca has suggested that as long as you have sort of two really strong pieces here, most learning situations will go well. And that, I think, opens really interesting opportunities for classes like yours, where you have the capacity to bring your own presence, and you're doing it with some of the blog posts that we've seen, some of what you folks have shared already this week. You are building social presence and a sense of each other, not just face-to-face, but digitally, as this week unfolds. And so in addition to what Ken thinks the course is about, and him and what he and us have brought to it, there's also, of course, the stuff that you are bringing to it. And you're learning from each other through the sharing of all of those posts and the conversations that you're having. In an online setting, people can't necessarily tell that you're there unless you signal them. You guys are there together in a class, and so somebody might say to you at the end of the day, hey, was Juan there? Yeah, I saw him, he was wearing a red shirt. Even if he didn't speak, you know he was there because visually he's visible to you. In an online setting, one of the things about presence is that unless you signal, unless you basically put up a flag, these are, anybody know what these are? The foxtrot for F, they're semaphore. They are an international series of symbols or signals that are used to communicate by, they were originally used on ships, I believe, but we all need to signal, to find some way to wave at people and say, I'm here in an online setting, because otherwise you actually can't see that people are there. So if you want to develop a presence in any kind of online space, whether for learning or for other purposes, you've actually got to be putting stuff out there and contributing to the web, not just consuming from it or lurking. Lurking is great, but if you want people to know you're there and to have the chance to learn from you, then you have to make a little bit more effort in an online space than you do in a face-to-face space. If you build a presence, there can be real opportunities, and it can be in any kind of platform online. So this young lady lives in my town. Now my town it's small. There's about 40,000 people here on a good day. Not every high school student in my town, because Jillian here is a high school student, has blue hair. Okay, Jillian is kind of a unique, interesting young woman who has interests that are not necessarily shared by everybody around here. Some people look at her and they go, blue hair, I see. And so sometimes living in a small town, particularly for somebody whose interests are not those of the majority, can be tough. Jillian kind of dealt with this by using the internet to find the people who were interested in the stuff that she was interested in. So some people, one guy mentioned Reddit earlier, there are all kinds of conversations about everything in the world on Reddit. If you have an interest, you can probably find a community there to talk to about those things. Jillian used YouTube and Twitter, but primarily YouTube, to build a presence. And what she did was, first she just started by sort of watching YouTube videos about other people who were interested in some of the stuff that she was into. She's really into Japanese fashion particularly. So those giant puffy pink earrings that she's wearing, the style of her hair, all those things, that aesthetic, that look was Japanese fashion. So she went to YouTube, found Japanese fashion channels and vlogs and started watching them. She started commenting on them. She started trying to engage with these people. And then she actually decided to build her own channel, to start producing her own videos. And that was the step where she started not only signaling that she was there by commenting, but actually putting out material for other people to engage with. And what happened was she actually became really popular. She ended up with Japanese fashion companies sending her stuff to review, to try on, to share. And so she's got this whole little side business going on as a high school student. But because she built a presence in this space, she was able to have this opportunity that otherwise wouldn't be available to her, both professionally in the sense that she's making some money from it and getting cool stuff, but mostly in the sense that she's in the conversations that she wants to be in. And that makes a real difference. But she couldn't have done that if she had only looked at the Japanese fashion YouTube videos, right? And this is where Dave White, Donna Lanclose, the work of the visitors and residents concept comes in. Because if you are a visitor to any given site, right, the idea of visitors and residents is that you're just there and you're treating it as if it is a place to get something done. Jillian, the girl with the blue hair, uses YouTube very differently from me. I use YouTube as a visitor. I go to YouTube only, basically, to show my 10-year-old cool 80s music videos. So we go, we watch Michael Jackson, we watch Boy George, and we leave. We do not make very many videos. We do not share videos. We do not treat it as a social space. It's just something to get something done. But we could, if we wanted to, also approach YouTube as a resident in the way that Jillian does and start making our own videos, sharing the things that we care about, commenting on other people's videos, going to it as a site for human interaction. And this conceptual difference, seeing a particular space as a task space or a social place, is really the big difference between the capacity to build presence. So if you want to build presence, then you almost need to take the time to become resident in a given space. Most of us are both visitors and residents in different spaces, because being a resident takes a fair amount of time. We can't all be resident everywhere. I'm resident in different places than even Sundi or Autumm might be, but there are still places on the web that are valuable to me, but I treat them like a tool shed. I show up, I have to get my lawnmower, I open the door, I get the lawnmower, I cut the lawn, I put it away. I'm not in the shed to hang out with my friends. So that's the visitors and residents concept. If we focus on tasks, then we're just kind of there to grab the lawnmower and go. But if you focus on people, then you can become a resident in whatever that space is. And there's a whole bunch of options here, but there are certainly more that are available. Dave White, when he was at Oxford, I believe, developed this map of sort of the visitors residence access, because it's not like a on-off thing, it's a continuum where you may be a little more resident in some spaces, a little more visitor in others, that also mixes with sort of personal use and institutional use. And so what he did was he mapped the ways that he uses different sites, just for him personally, against these two intersecting axes. Does he use this more as, you know, somebody who's representing an institution, whether as staff or as a student? Or does he use it more just for his own personal use? Does he use it only to get things done, like he's got email way over on the visitor side, or mostly to engage with people? He's got Twitter on the resident side. And so this map, this map is something that we're going to try to go over our own uses and encourage you guys to think about what yours might be. So I'm going to drop out of that. And I'm going to let Sundi start screen sharing. And go for it.
I just turned myself off instead of on. Am I echoing?
No, you're okay.
Okay. So before I screen share, I just thought we would check back in with everyone and make sure that you kind of have a good understanding of visitor resident. There's already tweets about how we're being more resident here on YouTube because we are engaging and interacting with each other. And the question is, how much are we going to do that? And, you know, how much are you, the people who come up and possibly ask questions, are engaging more, or maybe chatting during this? You are also engaging. So the other spectrum that Bonnie talked a little bit less about was the personal professional part of the map. And I think her example of using the picture in your house, Bonnie, for starting your online course is a really good example of how the personal can really help in the resident space to show who you are. A lot of people feel uncomfortable sometimes moving from professional or institutional. You all are students, so your professional is more your student life. So how much of that is about your personal stuff? How much of that do you bring online? How much of that intersects with what you study and what you do there at the school? So I think that's a nice area to figure out, and we all figure it out differently. I'm really uncomfortable sometimes being myself online, but I push myself because I feel that it helps. It helps have the conversations that I want to have if people know who I am a little bit more and where I'm coming from in that context. And that comes a lot from personal. So I don't know. Autumm, do you want to say anything before I start screen sharing? And then maybe we can check in with Ken and see if there are any comments or questions before we kind of jump into our online mapping experience?
Sure. So yeah, I think that Bonnie and Sundi has given us a good overview of, you know, kind of how this concept of visitor and resident mapped against personal and professional helps to give us an idea of where we're at, you know, and where we're using our technologies. And so, yeah, we wanted to collaboratively do this with you all, to kind of, because one of the things that I love about this is that it's fairly subjective, right? It's fairly, you mapping this out is really how you feel you use specific tools. So sometimes it's helpful to see other people go through that process, so that you can kind of think about, well, okay, that's the justification that, you know, that person is using for putting that particular technology on the map in that particular spot. But my world isn't like that. I don't use that technology or that tool in that way. I would justify this in a different way. So for me, you know, I'd map this out in a different area. So we're hoping that by showing you how we would map some of these tools out, we can, you know, give you some ideas about how you're going to map them out for yourselves. We actually had one before we got started, Sundi, before I think you made it into the room. I asked Ken to sort of ask the room there if somebody had a technology, and somebody threw out Reddit. So maybe we could start with that one, and then we'll ask Ken to gather some more technologies from the room as well. So do you want to share your screen, and then we could take turns mapping out where Reddit would fall?
Okay, I'm here. So one thing I was just showing them is I've got slides up from what Dave and company showed for VNR, and I'm just basically showing them the axis, because someone asked about which axes they're drawing, the personal study work and visitor resident axis. So everyone wants to pay attention to that, and then get that going on your paper. And any thoughts on which platform, which tool you want to suggest for them to map out, right? I'm totally multitasking.
Thanks, Ken.
And I'm bad at multitasking, like everyone.
Aw. Well, I think Sundi has the axis pulled up that we're going to be working on. Do you want to show that to the class now? Okay,
I'm gonna mute out, and they're watching your screens.
Okay, great. So you're seeing our axis, right? I just want to confirm that before I jump in.
It's there, so hopefully they're seeing it. No, yes, he said yes, good now.
Okay.
So Reddit, ouch, that's a hard one to start out with. I can't map it because I don't go there. So Bonnie and Autumn, do you?
I'll map it because I've read it before, right? Reddit, right? So I've gone there and I've looked, but very, very infrequently. So if I were going to map Reddit, it would probably be personal, and it would be way over here on the visitor side of things. So let me get my shapes up, and I'm the red box. So okay, I'm going to put it over here. And it's going to be really narrow because it's going to be very, very visitor, because I barely ever use it, and it's going to be very personal. I'm going to make it a tiny little square up here, and I'll write inside of it. I don't even know how to spell it. It's R-E-D-I-T-T?
R-E-D-D-I-T.
I'll just put my initials there.
Bon, are you on Reddit?
I have actually used it a little bit entirely as a visitor, not as a contributor. But I ended up in teaching a course a couple of years ago where I had some students who were active on Reddit, and that was one of the few social media-ish spaces that they were engaged in. So in order to understand their digital lives as an instructor, I asked them to recommend where I should go. And then I checked out some spaces, and I am just using this for the first time. So I'll put Reddit for me. I'm yellow. And okay, that worked beautifully.
Yeah, I think the white box for text is the easiest one to use. So when you're on text, that little white thing. But
how do I? Okay, there. That's how I get rid of that ugly thing.
Bonnie's learning fast. This is
fun. Can I make this smaller?
Sorry, I told you totally wrong. If you just click on the little T text itself,
Okay.
then it won't even do a box.
Thanks for bearing with us, folks. We're learning new technologies as we go. One of the biggest things that's hard about sometimes engaging as a resident is taking the risk, especially as a teacher, of acknowledging that you have no idea what you're doing. And there we go. Okay. But trying out new things and sort of modeling for people, hey, I'm learning this on the fly, I find can encourage people to be open about their practices and their learning too. So thanks for giving us the chance to try this in public. Anybody have another one for us? Another platform that you folks use or that you have heard of?
Ken, and you can either do it through text, or if you want to turn the microphone back on and see, maybe take a couple of platforms from the people being resident in your class.
Now, hopefully we don't blow out your ears. So one, Tonio asked, what did you ask, Tonio? Blackboard.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Let's say LMS, so that just, we can say whatever LMS your school might use, where does it go, right? Nice.
You guys use the term LMS?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And I'm guessing you use Blackboard.
So for me, that would be Moodle, because that's what we use here at my school, right? And I'm the administrator of the system. We have a couple of other administrators, but I'm kind of like it's me and one other person who is kind of like the main administrator. So I'm very resident and very professional when it comes to our Moodle system. So I'm going to put that down here. And yeah, then I'll just write in the little box here, Moodle. But I'll put /Blackboard. Just so that you guys kind of know what it is that I'm talking about. But that's basically that's the tool that we use. That's the equivalent of Blackboard at my school.
Yeah, and I don't see where you're putting yours yet. Oh, you're way over there. I don't see it quite on my screen.
I'm way off the screen. Can you guys see it there in the room? I could move it over a little bit.
Yeah, you might want to move it over. It looks like it's going into resident.
And I'm gonna here, let me just explain maybe a little bit more about why I'm doing that. So I am on that system fairly regularly, right? So I spend a lot of time there. I also teach in that system, so people would recognize me. They recognize my account. I have my picture attached to my account. So that's something that I've used to declare myself in that space, that, hey, this is me. My name, my real name is attached to that because it's an official system. So I didn't even put that in, right? That was there. So that's why I would consider myself resident there. I'd consider myself resident there because I've declared myself in all of these ways that's tied to my actual being, and other people would recognize me there if I were in a discussion board, or if I were in one of the blogs that are inside of that system that are a little more locked down. It's not very public, it's just within that community, but I would still consider that to be resident because I would be recognized there. I spend a lot of time there, and it's highly professional, right? There's not too much going on there that I'm just socializing with people for other reasons outside of professional reasons. When I socialize there, if I do socialize, it's still in a professional context.
And for me, now this is interesting. I'm of course still struggling to write my name here because I'm new to this, but I'm the yellow circle kind of just below Sundi. I see the LMS, and we use Moodle at my institution, but I've also used Blackboard before, and let me just see if I can move that over. I can't, so I'm going to do this.
Not easy to move text.
Okay, very good. Good to know. I'll just move that in here on LMS. Now, Autumn and I may see residency a little bit differently. I am not the administrator for Moodle. I use it solely as a teacher. I've used it for 10 years, and prior to that, I used other learning management systems. I use it very much institutionally, in the sense that I would never show up really to hang out with friends. I don't see those. I value the social connections I have with my students, but I'm very aware of them as specifically governed by particular roles. And so for me, while I am resident there, I have it on the line between visitor and resident because I'm not really there for social purposes. My task purpose is still driving a lot of my interaction. I use LMSs or Blackboard or Moodle in social ways because I think it's important to build social presence with learners and have real conversations. And I am sometimes quite frank, but it's always governed by the fact that I'm there to be a good teacher. Whereas I see the spaces where I consider myself truly resident as a little bit more reflective of bigger parts of my identity. So that's why I've got the LMS very much towards the institutional end and falling on the line between visitor and resident.
Yeah, so I'm like you, Bonnie, I'm on that line of visitor resident, and I see that very similarly. Something Ken mentioned in the chat was that people had hoped the LMS would be a social space for students, that they would go and discuss there. And I think a lot of us have found out that it's not the natural place to do that. And so what ends up happening a lot there is that's where people share resources. And that's really a visitor type of thing where people, at least students, are going there and getting things and not really interacting very much, even though there can be some interaction there. So it just depends on how people use it, for sure. And I'm definitely, that's one place it's hard to be personal, even if I wanted to be. Like Autumn said, it's your name. It's usually your profile picture from your institution. So there's not a lot of space to express yourself. So it's interesting. We have some other suggestions. Yay, let's get Snapchat up there, because I'm sure our use will be quite different than other people's. So I'll start out with Snapchat since I'm here already. I'm blue, and my Snapchat is super personal. And every week, my map would look differently with Snapchat because I either use it a lot in 1 week or I haven't used it in months. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put it really small in personal, and it's only the personal people I know. So it's not even, it's not with a large group of people. I probably know like 10 people on Snapchat. So I guess it's not very resident. So I'm gonna put it here. Oh, tiny. This is how big my Snapchat is. Okay, over to you two.
Let me see, where did you put that? Oh my goodness, way up there, you're tiny little, I like that. Okay, so Snapchat, yeah, I do not use Snapchat very often. I had my niece teach me how to use Snapchat the other day, and I sent like a mass Snapchat out to the 3 or 4 people. I say mass, right? But the 3 or 4 people that I follow or follow me, I'm not even sure exactly how it works. I'm gonna say that I'm very, very resident. I'm even gonna go and very, very personal. So I'm going to be on the same level as Sundi up there, but I think I'm going to be like over here. Yeah, I think that's right.
And we lost Bonnie. I noticed that it had kind of frozen on her, luckily in like a really nice smile. So I was like, wow, she's really enjoying what I'm saying. But I think we lost her.
Well, hopefully Bonnie can rejoin us. But maybe we could map just a couple more things and then let the students do some mapping on their own, and then we'll come back and have them share. There's Bonnie. Hey, Bonnie, you're back.
Hi, sorry. My institutional internet went out completely.
Did you want to map Snapchat for us? Do you still have the whiteboard open?
Sure, I think I did. I don't know if it showed up yet. My Snapchat, are you seeing it?
I don't see your Snapchat. I see Bon.
Let me just refresh that. Oh yeah, it was showing for me, but you are right, it is not there. So Snapchat for me is pretty much over where it is for Autumn. And just put my name in there. What I started to say was I have a 10-year-old, and so as he gets more into things like Snapchat, I may find that I have motivation to use it more often, but I'm not. I also need to apologize because I'm going to need to leave in 5 minutes. So I'm going to leap ahead, and I know that we're taking suggestions. I just wanted to show 2 places where I am resident, but still use them differently, because then I'm going to have to bow out. 2 places where I'm resident but use things differently. One is Facebook. I've used Facebook for 10 years. I use it pretty actively. I use it daily, but for me, it is primarily personal. Only in the last couple of years have I even started showing any of my professional stuff there. It's where I see extended family, people I hang out with, people I went to high school with, and then not Snapchat, people that I have met at conferences and stuff. I'm starting to make more professional connections there, but it's still primarily personal. Whereas Twitter, where I am also resident, is much more kind of on the, and I'm not drawing beautifully here. I notice you guys all have nice shapes. I don't have nice shapes.
That's okay.
Everyone will remember yours more, Bonnie.
Right? I always love, because if you guys go through the VNR tag, like people take all types of different approaches to this. Do little word clouds and stuff.
My Twitter, which looks very sloppy, and that might be a fair judgment on my Twitter, but my Twitter is the primary place where I do a lot of my digital presence and my digital scholarship work. And so it sort of crosses that personal professional line, because even as a professional, I find that I build presence best by being personal with people. So I talk about myself as a human being. I don't just kind of share my papers and disappear, but I'm much more focused on kind of work and education stuff on Twitter and some politics, to the extent where I have friends in my day-to-day life who I really like, but they've said, look, I had to unfollow you on Twitter because I don't understand the stuff you're talking about, all this digital scholarship stuff, I don't know. On Facebook, we're fine, because I'm really speaking much more as an individual on Facebook. So those are my Facebook and Twitter. And apologies, but I've got to fly because I have somewhere that I've got to drive to. So it was really great talking to all of you. And
everybody say thank you to Bonnie for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and I wish I could stay longer. Take care.
Awesome.
Bye, Bonnie.
Bye, Bonnie.
Bye, Sundi. Bye, Autumn. Bye, Ken. Bye, class.
Thank you. Awesome. I gotta put back to Sundi's screen. I'll mute myself because I'm telling you what echo.
Yeah, I'll jump in on the same sort of idea that Bonnie had, and mine looks a lot different than hers. And knowing that Bonnie's is on here, I know that she's super resident, so on Twitter, so I know that mine should be left of hers. But my Facebook actually goes into my institutional, because I don't know about you all, but there are a lot of groups on campus that use Facebook. They have Facebook groups, right? And so I join them usually. And even if I don't do anything there, I still go to Facebook and I still see the event and I still kind of have that on that feed. So mine dips a little bit into that institutional for sure.
Awesome. We actually started experimenting with Facebook at work as a separate platform for our institution as well. So we're experimenting with that, but I really don't have any feedback or data yet. But we have a private, or we have not a private group, a protected group for this course. I know Autumn's in there. I don't have Sundi on Facebook. She's not my friend on Facebook.
Oh, Ken, wow. I guess that shows our division, and we'll figure that out after this.
We'll figure that out later. But I'm similar with Bonnie, where my use of Facebook has kind of shifted in the last year to use a lot more professional stuff there. So they're getting active, drawing out their own maps. They were screaming out some suggestions like GitHub, like Snapchat, which we talked about, LinkedIn. And the smile was about when I said, get out our glitter and stickers.
Glitter and stickers.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love this.
Violas.
I love this activity because it's a paper kind of thing usually, and it's really tactile, and you're talking about online spaces, but you're doing it in a very physical way.
Right.
So that's why. So yay, glitter.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky with this setup because I have to keep muting to not kill you with the feedback, but then you just have this silent room, which is probably very strange.
Well, I'd love to hear from some of the students there where they find that they're most resident, or what shows biggest on their maps, or what they're figuring out about their interaction. So does anyone want to share that? And I might go back to my face, Autumn, if that's okay.
So you guys are hearing that? Is anyone ready to share something, or should we do like a 5 minutes and go for coffee? Well, not you, me, and Autumn and Sundi. Bonnie already went. You want 5 minutes? Is 5 minutes good for you guys to get something together, and then we'll share? I'd like you to share on Facebook in our group as well as Twitter as much as you can. You all have phones there with cameras. I haven't had a chance to look at Twitter because my laptop's connected here. I should have 2 laptops. I'm hopeless with a phone with tweeting. I'm not like you millennials. I'm joking about the term, by the way. Sarcasm.
I was hoping.
Sarcasm doesn't come through over the internet.
Well, we'll be looking. I'm on your Facebook group too, so
Are you in the group too?
we'll take a look when people post theirs, and I'm curious to see how
I'm sharing my screen over to the Facebook group. I'm not sharing it yet, but we'll see if anyone's. Oh, one person wants to join this group. Oh, there, Guillaume, you're in the group. Awesome, you're added. Remember, kids, anyone can add anyone to the group. It's not locked down. So all we have so far is Danielle said, please use hashtag vendor and iTecGDA. But as soon as you have stuff ready, start posting your pictures to there as well as to Twitter using those hashtags VNR, iTecGDA. Focus on VNR. I think that's more important right now. You could throw in the Samana E one as well, since that'll make our institution happy. Let me switch back to the window with you guys so we can see you.
And it looks like we've also got Donna Lankos on Twitter.
Yeah, she piped in just before we went live, so I'm not sure what's going on. I haven't been able to watch Twitter.
So she's kind of answering everyone's questions as well.
Yeah, so if you have questions, throw them out on Twitter, because Donna is a...
And Laurie picked up on my millennial, so I guess he's watching us. And he did get that it was sarcasm.
Hashtag end of days he used.
Now I am done.
But I know you all were talking some with Laura and Lee about audience, and they had some great things to share about how big you want your audience to be and what big is, and when you're writing in public, who do you want your audience to be? So that's another kind of thing that you can think about when mapping where you're resident. So who's watching you in those spaces?
Right.
And the more people there are watching you, the more resident it might be.
And which people?
And which people, yeah.
Right.
Is it your school?
I'm no longer on Facebook because my mom is there, type thing.
Or you have 2 Facebook accounts? Anyone have 2 Facebook accounts?
2 Facebook accounts or more, and wants to admit it. Interesting. There was maybe 5 or 6 hands came up there.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of faculty that do that. There's like, professor can versus, public can. I don't do that. It freaks me out. I can't deal with one personality.
It gets confusing, and I commend people who can do it.
I think the public versus my followers confuses a lot of people on Facebook too, when they forget who they're posting to, their audience. How are we doing, guys? Anyone wants to share yet?
Drive count as a platform?
As what?
Drive, like Google Drive?
Oh yeah, I would think so, because like Google Drive and Dropbox, is that kind of something that
That's
you're mapping in there? That's a good question. I think so, because you share with each other your documents.
And do you just share, or do you comment and actually collaborate on documents?
So I'm going to move the microphone so people can start coming up and talking. I've got an extra USB extension on this. So, question for you.
Well, I actually use Drive for school purposes, so I guess like we collaborate each other when we do like a Google Docs or something for a project, where it's more like just sharing things for the other one to download and then work by themselves. So that actually will be like visitor or resident.
So I would think that just because of the nature of the tool, that and Sundi, tell me how you feel about this, but with my understanding of resident being you know, a place where you're recognized by other people, I think that you could do that within a document that was shared, because you'd be in there with other people. And like Sundi was saying, if you're not just writing, but collaboratively writing and collaboratively annotating with one another, that would be more resident. But if you're just writing a document by yourself and it just happens to be on Google Docs, I would consider that to be more visitor.
And sometimes it depends on the share settings too, right? So is it shared just between a closed group, or is it something that you have allowed everyone to see? And can other people go there and see who you are? Or are you one of those little animals right at the top when we have anonymous people interacting? How resident is that? So I think you're definitely interacting, but maybe it's not connected to your identity. So I think Google Docs can be all over the place depending on how people use it.
It's like going back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and a lot of the technologies are that way, right? It's the nature of the tool, the affordances that the tool has definitely come into play, but it's also how you are using the tool. And that's what I meant when I said that this exercise is kind of subjective, right? It's how you're using it. So I also wanted to throw in that Donna's on Twitter, and she says, for me, Google Docs is pretty resident. I'm sharing in documents all of the time, commenting and interacting. Oh, and Ernesto has shared his VNR map on Twitter, I see. Look at that, very cool.
And Antonio's very hungry and waiting for breakfast. Thanks for sharing, Antonio. That's a very personal thing. We appreciate you sharing it with us.
He's being very resident.
Is that Facebook or Twitter?
So Ken, do you want to kind of you might want to wrap this up so you can
Yeah, I think so.
share together there. I don't think, unless you need us for anything else, for sure.
I'm just moving the microphone so you can hear me better and not the whole yourself. Yeah, I think so. I'm like jumping back and forth so much here now. Any other questions? People want to go directly here with Autumm and Sundi while we have them? Or should we just continue this offline and then share to them and everyone else through our channels? Nobody? I'm waiting, counting to 10. It's the requisite. I'm guessing not. Okay, good. Well, with that, then why don't I just thank Autumm and thank Sundi, and we already thanked Bonnie very well, and give them a round of applause for joining us today and sharing.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And we'll be looking out for your individual faces on some of these platforms if you are resident there. So
Awesome.
Nice to meet you, and have fun for the rest of your week.
And thank you so much, and we'll be in touch online.
Great. Thank you guys so much for having us. And Ken, thank you for inviting us. And you guys have a great week.
Awesome.
Bye.
Perfect. Have a great day. Cheers.